I arrived at my parents' house for Christmas dinner carrying a simple fruit basket, the kind you buy at the supermarket for $20. My baby sister pulled up at the exact same moment in her brand new BMW. Her trunk was crammed with luxuriously wrapped gifts that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. "Oh, Virginia," she said, her gaze sliding over my modest basket. Still keeping it simple. I smiled and didn't say anything. Kelly was always the family favorite, married to a corporate lawyer, living in a house with a 3-car garage, the president of her homeowners association. And I'm the family question mark, the one who never got her life together, as my mother's friends like to say. Inside, it smelled of roasted turkey and my aunt's famous sweet potato casserole. The relatives had already gathered. Aunts, uncles, cousins, my brother Marcus with his wife Denise. Conversations hushed when I walked in. "Virginia, we're so glad you came," my mother said in a tone that suggested she was mildly surprised by my appearance. "We weren't sure you'd make it, what with you being so busy with your projects." "Wouldn't miss it, Mom," I replied, setting my basket next to Kelly's tower of presents. Uncle Samuel was already tipsy. "So, Virginia, still doing that internet thing? What's it called again?" "E-commerce," I said quietly. Right. Selling stuff online. My neighbor does that too. Makes a couple $100 a month on his crafts. Nice little hobby," he chuckled. I sat down on the couch and accepted a glass of wine from my cousin. The television murmured quietly with the local news. Everyone was already discussing Kelly's latest achievement. She had recently been featured in a local magazine, the 40 Under 40 list of young professionals. "The photographer spent 3 hours with me," Kelly was saying, showing everyone pictures on her phone. "They wanted to get the perfect shot for the cover." "We're so proud of you," my father beamed. "A cover, now that's success." Aunt Jacqueline turned to me. "And you, Virginia dear, still living in that little apartment downtown?" "Yes," I replied. "Well, that's not so bad. Not everyone needs a big house." "Very practical on a small income," she said, patting my hand with a sympathetic smile. Dinner was served at 6 o'clock. We sat around the long table my parents only brought out for major holidays. My place was at the far end, between a teenage cousin who spent the entire meal on his phone and Uncle Samuel, who had moved on to bourbon. "Want some turkey, Virginia?" my mother called loudly from the other end of the table. "Or are you on one of those trendy diets?" "Turkey's fine, Mom." Kelly sat in the place of honor next to my father, regaling everyone with stories about her upcoming trip to the Maldives. "The resort is incredibly exclusive," she explained. "To even book a room, you need a referral from a current member." "Now that's success," my father said. "Working hard, climbing the corporate ladder, investing wisely, that's the path." My brother, Marcus, chimed in. "Remember when Virginia wanted to quit her marketing job to become an entrepreneur?" He made air quotes. "We all tried to drum some sense into her." "I was so worried," my mother said, shaking her head. "A stable job, benefits, and she just threw it all away." "How long has it been?" Kelly asked with feigned concern. "This internet experiment of yours?" "5 years. 6, I said, cutting my turkey. 6 years. "Oh, honey, don't you think it's time to think about getting back to a normal career?" she said sweetly. "I could ask Christopher if there are any administrative openings at his firm." Christopher, Kelly's husband, had joined us later after an important phone call. He nodded with a patronizing smile. "Always happy to help family. You have to be realistic about your capabilities." I took a sip of water and said nothing. The dinner continued with stories of achievements. Marcus got another promotion. Denise was elected to the school board. My cousin made the honor roll. Every few minutes, someone would look at me with an expression probably meant to be kind, but looked a lot like pity. "It's important to know when to give up," Uncle Samuel declared loudly, pointing his fork at me. "Dreams are fine when you're young, but then you have to face reality. Steady paycheck, retirement savings, responsibility." Virginia was always a dreamer. "Remember her as a little girl," Aunt Jacqueline added. "Always making up stories, living in fantasies. Some people never grow out of it." After dinner, we moved to the living room for dessert and coffee. The TV was still on. Now the evening news was playing. Mom served her famous apple pie, and Kelly talked about her kitchen renovation that cost more than most people's annual salary. Italian marble countertops, she was saying. The installer said they were the best he'd ever worked with. Of course, if you have the means, you invest in quality. I took a small piece of pie and sat in the corner armchair, a little worn and turned slightly away from the family circle. Virginia, honey, my mother said, have you thought about taking some business courses, getting some real skills? I worry about you living paycheck to paycheck at your age. I'm fine, Mom. Fine isn't good enough, my father interjected. You're 34. You should be on your feet by now. Look at your sister. House, car, investments, respect in the community. That's what success looks like. Kelly smiled modestly. I just worked really hard, made the right decisions, followed the proven path. Exactly, said Christopher. The proven path, not these internet adventures. My cousin's wife, Catherine, piped up. I read an article about online businesses. Most fail in the first year, and the ones that survive, when you break it down by the hour, barely make minimum wage. That's just what I'm talking about, my mother exclaimed. Her voice was getting more agitated. Virginia, you're wasting your best years. Think about your future. You have no retirement savings, no property, no stability. Uncle Samuel raised his glass. Well, here's what I think, Virginia. And I say this with love. You need to stop playing at being an entrepreneur and start taking life seriously. This isn't a game. Several relatives nodded in agreement. I sat there, barely touching my pie. The room seemed to shrink. The walls closed in under the weight of their concern, their judgment, and their absolute certainty that they knew my life better than I did. Playing at being an entrepreneur with your little online shop, Kelly said, smirking. Sorry, but that's exactly what you're doing. Playing pretend. We're all too polite to say it directly, but someone needs to for your own good. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Aunt Jacqueline said softly, We love you, Virginia. That's why it's so hard for us to watch this. You're too old to be playing these games. Games, my father repeated. That's the perfect word. While everyone else is building real careers, real wealth, making a real contribution, you're playing. My mother's eyes welled up with tears. I lie awake at night worrying about you, she said. What will happen when you're 50? Still in that same little apartment, still pretending you have a business and nothing to show for all those years. Marcus leaned forward. Listen, little sister, we're doing an intervention because we care. You need to hear the truth. The fantasy you're living in, it's not real life. It's not serious. It's not sustainable. It's time to wake up and join the adult world. I took a slow breath and reached for my coffee. My hand didn't tremble. So, what exactly do you sell? Denise asked. I've never even seen your website. Probably doesn't exist, Christopher said with a condescending snort. And if it does, it's probably some pathetic little Etsy shop with 3 products and 0 sales. The TV had moved from news to evening programming. A commercial was on, something about holiday sales. Kelly stood up to cut herself another piece of pie. Virginia, I'm going to be direct because I'm your sister and I love you. You're making a fool of yourself and of our whole family too. Every time someone asks what you do, we have to make excuses. Virginia's trying to start a business. Virginia's trying her hand at entrepreneurship. It's humiliating. Humiliating, my mother echoed. When Patricia asked me at book club about my daughters, I could brag about Kelly's magazine cover and her beautiful home. And you. I said you were working on some online projects. I saw the pity in her eyes. My father set his coffee cup down on the table with more force than necessary. That's it, Virginia. New Year's resolution. You find a real job. Doesn't matter if it's entry-level or not, just something real. Legitimate. I could probably get you an interview at my company, Marcus offered. Customer service is always hiring. Not glamorous, but it's honest work. A real job. The commercial ended. A new program started on the screen. Local news journal, the one that did special reports on Saturdays. Tonight on a special edition of New Scene, the anchor's voice announced. An exclusive look at one of the most remarkable business success stories of the decade. How a young entrepreneur turned a simple idea into a multi-billion-dollar global empire. No one was really listening. Kelly was talking about her upcoming performance review, where she expected another raise. Uncle Samuel was topping off his bourbon. Mom was clearing dessert plates. Our story tonight, the TV continued, focuses on Virginia Chin, the enigmatic founder and CEO of Lux Global Holdings, whose revolutionary concept of sustainable luxury goods has transformed the entire retail industry. My mother dropped a plate. It didn't break, but it clattered loudly against the coffee table. On screen, an aerial view of a massive corporate campus appeared: glass, steel, perfectly manicured gardens. The caption read, "Headquarters, Lux Global Holdings, Shanghai." "What?" my father mumbled. "That's Virginia's name," my cousin said slowly. Kelly's face paled. It's some other Virginia. It's a common name." But the screen changed to a photograph. Me, in a sharp business suit, shaking hands with the president of France at an economic summit. The caption confirmed it: Virginia Chin, 34, founder and CEO, Lux Global Holdings. The reporter's voice filled the frozen living room. Virginia Chen's story is one of vision, secrecy, and extraordinary execution. 6 years ago, she quietly left a corporate marketing job to pursue what her family considered a little online experiment. But they didn't know that Virginia had spent the previous 3 years developing unique sustainable production technologies and building connections with eco-conscious suppliers in 18 countries. On screen, factories appeared, spacious, modern. Workers assembling luxurious bags, shoes, accessories. Within just 18 months, the reporter continued, her company had secured contracts with major department stores across Asia. Within 3 years, she had expanded into Europe and North America. Her revolutionary approach, blending luxury craftsmanship with sustainable materials and ethical production, resonated with millennials and Gen Z, who want both quality and consciousness. Uncle Samuel's glass froze halfway to his mouth. Footage showed stores in Paris, London, Tokyo, New York. Bags for thousands of dollars. Shoes worn on red carpets. Accessories with waiting lists months long. Today, the reporter announced, Lux Global Holdings operates manufacturing on 4 continents, employs over 40,000 people, and generates an annual revenue of over $7 billion. Recent company valuation places Virginia Chen's personal fortune at approximately $7.2 billion, making her one of the youngest self-made female billionaires in the world. My mother made it sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. On screen, I appeared again, now at a tech conference, speaking to thousands. Then at a UN Sustainability Summit. Then on the cover of Forbes magazine, with the headline, "The Silent Billionaire, How Virginia Chin Built an Empire." Chin is known for her privacy, the reporter explained. She rarely gives interviews, avoids social media, and has never disclosed her wealth to friends or family. Those closest to her had no idea of the scale of her success. Kelly's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. Tonight's program takes you inside the empire of Virginia Chin, the anchor said. We'll visit her facilities, speak with her leadership team, and learn how she managed to build a multi-billion-dollar global company while maintaining almost total anonymity in her personal life. Tonight at 9 p.m., only on New Scene Special. The program switched to a commercial. The silence in the room was absolute. Then everyone started talking at once. This can't be. It's not her. 7 billion? That's our Virginia. My father jumped up. His face was red. Virginia. Virginia, is this true? Is this real? I carefully set down my cup. Yes, Dad. You. My mother couldn't finish. Lux Global Holdings, I said quietly. Yes, it's my company. Marcus was already frantically Googling on his phone. Oh my God, oh my God. It's all true. Virginia, you're on the Forbes billionaires list. Number 847 in the world. Your net worth here says $7.2 billion. Kelly's face went pale, then flushed a deep crimson. You sat there and let us. Make fun of me? I finished gently. Yes. Christopher was scrolling through his phone with shaking hands. Lux Global just announced a new sustainable fashion initiative with the European Union. A €200 million grant. Virginia, you met with the EU Commissioner last month. Yes, I confirmed. Aunt Jacqueline was crying real tears. We thought you were broke. We thought you were failing. I know. Uncle Samuel downed his glass in one gulp. That apartment you live in, why do you live in a regular apartment if you're a billionaire? I like that apartment, I said. It's cozy and near my favorite coffee shop. My mother sank heavily into an armchair. A fruit basket. You brought a $20 fruit basket, being a billionaire. I like fruit baskets, I replied. The commercial ended. The anchor reappeared on screen. Reminder, our exclusive special report on billionaire entrepreneur Virginia Chin airs tonight at 9 p.m. We have unprecedented access to her corporation, including interviews with executives and a rare personal conversation with Chen herself. Stay tuned. My father's voice was barely a whisper. You gave an interview to the news, but not to your own family. They asked about business, I said. You asked why I was wasting my life. Kelly stood up abruptly, knocking over a glass of wine. A red stain spread across the white tablecloth like blood. This is insane. Completely insane. You're telling me that for 6 years, while we felt sorry for you, while we tried to help, while we worried, you were secretly a billionaire. Yes. That's hurtful, Virginia. That's really hurtful. Who does that? Someone who wanted to know who cared about her, and who only cared about her success, I answered calmly. Marcus kept scrolling through news. You donated $500 million to environmental projects last year. You funded scholarships at 15 universities. You're building hospitals in developing countries. Virginia, you're a philanthropist. A major global philanthropist, Denise breathed. Those billions should be helping family. Uncle Samuel exploded. Your own flesh and blood. I looked at him calmly. Why? So you could buy more bourbon? So Kelly could renovate her kitchen with even more expensive marble. How dare you? Kelly hissed. My mother was also scrolling through her phone, her face paling with every swipe. You spoke at the World Economic Forum in Davos. You've had dinners with heads of state. You own property in 12 countries. Virginia, you own an island. 2 islands, I corrected. The second one smaller. I use it for marine ecology research. My father sank onto a chair as if all the air had been let out of him. All those times we tried to help you, offered you jobs, money. I remember, I said quietly. Denise looked up, her voice trembling. Last year at Christmas, I gave you a Target gift card because I thought you needed money for groceries. I used it, I replied. Bought a nice towel. Thank you. Christopher was pale. My firm. I offered you an administrative job. I'm a lawyer making $300K a year, and I offered you, God, that was. It was sweet of you, I said. Catherine. My cousin's wife was already reading aloud from her phone. Business Insider calls you the most underrated entrepreneur of the decade. Fortune says you're changing the rules of the sustainable luxury industry. The Wall Street Journal called you the billionaire next door, because in your personal life, you live like a regular person. I am a regular person, I said. Regular. Kelly shrieked. You're worth $7 billion. You employ 40,000 people. You sit on the UN Advisory Council for Sustainable Development. That's not normal. The wealth isn't normal, I agreed. But I'm the same person I was 6 years ago. The same person I was this afternoon, when you were all explaining to me how I'd failed at my life. The doorbell rang. Everyone jumped. My mother, moving as if in a dream, went to answer it. She returned, accompanied by a man and a woman in professional attire, carrying expensive filming equipment. Miss Chin, the woman said, smiling at me. Lauren Winters, news scene. We spoke last week about shooting some B-roll of you in a relaxed family setting for tonight's special. I hope this is a good time. The room exploded. You planned this? My father shouted. The film crew knew, my mother added. I stood up. I told them I'd be spending Christmas with my family. They asked if they could film a few minutes of casual family interaction. Needed to humanize the story. Humanize, Marcus repeated, stunned. Lauren was already setting up the camera, completely professional and calm. We literally need 5 minutes. Very informal. Just Virginia with her family, to show that despite her incredible success, She values her roots and maintains a close connection with her loved ones. The irony in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. We can't, Kelly panicked. We can't be on camera now. Not after. After what we spent 3 hours telling her she was a failure. Christopher had already shifted into his lawyer mode, assessing risks. Virginia, perhaps we should discuss. Miss Chin, Lauren interrupted. We have a very tight schedule. The special airs in 3 hours, and we still need to edit. Can we start? Lauren asked. I looked around the room. My family stared back at me, shocked, horrified, confused, mentally revising their entire perception of me and of themselves. You know, I said finally, I don't think this is the right setting. It seems my family is still processing some unexpected news. Lauren swept her gaze across the room, reading the situation instantly with a journalist's eye. I understand. Should we reschedule? Not necessary, I replied. You have plenty of material from the corporate campus, factory tours, executive interviews. This, I gestured at my frozen relatives, isn't essential. Whatever you say, Miss Chin, Lauren said, already packing up her equipment, clearly sensing an unfolding story she wouldn't be allowed to tell. When the film crew left, the silence returned. But now it was different, heavy, filled with recalculations, the sound of worldviews crumbling, and desperate attempts to construct a new narrative where they looked better. My mother spoke first. Her voice was strained, unnaturally bright. Well, this is wonderful news. Virginia, sweetie, maybe we should all sit down, and you can tell us about your business? We'd really love to know all about it. Would you? I asked quietly. Of course, we're your family. We've always supported you. I smiled sadly. 3 hours ago, you said I was an embarrassment to the family. I didn't mean it like that, my mother began. You meant it exactly like that, I corrected gently. All of you meant it. Every word. Kelly's voice regained some of its usual firmness. Virginia, you have to understand how this looks from our perspective. You deliberately misled us. I didn't mislead anyone, I replied. You just assumed I'd failed. I simply didn't correct your assumptions. It's deception by omission, Kelly's voice rose. Really? I asked. When you became HOA president, did you tell me every detail of your company? When Marcus got his promotion, did he explain every single career move? Or did you just share what you wanted to share? And I accepted it without interrogation. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. That's different. How? I asked evenly. Because you're worth billions. That's important information. Important for what? I asked. So you'd respect me? Obviously, yes. So you wouldn't mock me at the family table? Also, yes. But for our actual relationship? That's the real question. My father tried a different tactic. Virginia, I think we all said things tonight that we regret. In the heat of the moment, we were just worried about you. You were ashamed of me, I interrupted calmly. That's not the same thing. Uncle Samuel poured himself more bourbon. Listen, Virginia, we're all adults here. Let's just move on. You're successful. We're proud of you. Let's talk about the future. The future where I fund your retirement? I clarified. Or Kelly's next vacation. Or Marcus's kids' college tuition. We're family, Aunt Jacqueline sniffled. Family helps each other. True, I said. Family does help each other. When I was starting my business, did anyone offer help? Not money, time, attention, basic respect. Silence. Every Thanksgiving, I sat at the end of the table, I continued. Listening to lectures about my failures, enduring pity, arrogance, and outright contempt. I did it quietly because I wanted to learn something. Learn what? Denise asked quietly. Who you all really are, I replied. Whether you love me for me or only love success. My mother's face contorted. That's not fair. Isn't it? I asked. Kelly, you called me an embarrassment. Dad, you called my work playing games. Marcus, you staged an intervention. Which part of that was love? Kelly was trembling. You could have told us. You could have trusted us. Trusted you with what? I interrupted. With my success? So you could later take credit for supporting me? So you could ask for money? So you could brag to your friends? That's cruel, Kelly whispered. Crueler than mocking someone's dreams? I asked. Crueler than assuming someone is failing without even asking? Crueler than offering pity instead of pride. Christopher cleared his throat. Virginia, from a legal standpoint. I have excellent lawyers, Christopher, I said. Some of the best in the world. If you were about to offer your services, I'm not interested. His face paled. My phone vibrated. I looked at the screen, a message from my executive assistant. The special is starting, I said. If you want to watch, stay. If not, I'll leave when it's over. No one moved. I turned up the volume on the TV. The new scene special logo appeared, followed by dramatic music and panoramic shots of my corporate campus. For the next hour, my family sat in absolute silence, watching the program unfold the scale of my empire. Factories employing thousands. Sustainable production practices that had won global awards. A charitable foundation that had donated over $1 billion to environmental and educational projects. Partnerships with governments and NGOs. Innovation labs creating new materials. Employee programs, full healthcare, educational benefits, profit sharing. Footage of me speaking at conferences, inspecting facilities, meeting with world leaders. Interviews with my executives, brilliant minds from Harvard and Oxford, speaking about my vision and leadership with genuine respect. They handled my personal life delicately. The modest apartment, the absence of social media, the quiet lifestyle. Virginia Chin, the reporter said, is perhaps the most private billionaire in the world. She drives a 5-year-old sedan, shops at regular grocery stores. Her neighbors don't even know who she is. By all accounts, she's remained the same person she was before her incredible success. The special ended with footage from a hospital opening in Cambodia, fully funded by my foundation. Laughing children running through a playground. Me, kneeling in the dust, talking to a little girl. No security, no cameras, just a real moment, accidentally captured by the cameraman. Virginia Chin, the reporter concluded, proves that extraordinary success doesn't require an extraordinary ego. In an age of influencers and self-promotion, she built an empire in silence. And perhaps that's what makes her story so remarkable. The credits rolled. The room was silent for a long time. Then my mother spoke, her voice cracking. You built a hospital? 12 hospitals, I corrected quietly. So far. And you never told us, my father said. You never asked, I replied. In 6 years, not one of you ever asked me a single genuine question about my work. You just assumed, mocked, and moved on. Kelly was crying now. I called your work a pretend game. Yes, I said. You did. I'm sorry. Are you sorry for what you said? Or sorry you were wrong? She didn't answer. I stood up. I'm leaving. Virginia, wait. My mother stood too. Please, we need to discuss this as a family. Family. I looked around the room. You call this a family? Because for the last 6 years, I felt like a stranger here. A disappointment. A failed entrepreneur. Someone to be pitted and mocked. We didn't understand, Aunt Jacqueline said. You didn't try to understand, I corrected. It's not the same. Marcus stood up. What do you want from us, Virginia? We messed up. We apologized. What else is there to say? Nothing, I replied. There's nothing left to say. You've shown me who you are. For you, success is more important than character. Money is more important than kindness. Status is more important than substance. That's not true, my father objected. Then why, I said slowly, did not one person in this room defend me tonight? Before the news report, when you were all attacking, mocking, staging an intervention, where was the unconditional love? Where was we support you no matter what? Where was basic respect? No one answered. I picked up my coat. I'm going to continue living the same way I always have. The same apartment, the same habits, the same privacy. The only difference is, now you know the truth. And you'll have to live with how you treated me when you thought I was nobody. You're not nobody, my mother said desperately. You're my daughter. Then act like my mother, I said. Not because I'm successful, not because I'm on TV, but because I'm a person who deserved basic respect all along. I walked to the door. Virginia, Kelly called out. What happens to us now? I stopped, my hand on the doorknob. That's up to you. You can keep believing that only success matters. Or you can think about why you treated a member of your own family so poorly for so many years. Either way, the choice is yours. Will we see you again? My mother asked, her voice barely audible. I don't know, I said honestly. I need to decide if I want to keep subjecting myself to judgment and ridicule. Even billionaires have feelings, Mom. Especially the ones who remember what it's like to be considered a failure by the people who were supposed to love them the most. I opened the door. The cold December air rushed in. Merry Christmas, I said, and walked out. Behind me, I heard my mother start to sob. My father tried to comfort her. Kelly was saying something about calling tomorrow, about fixing things, about being family. I just walked to my car, a modest 5-year-old sedan, paid for in cash, that had never impressed anyone, and drove away. My phone started vibrating before I even hit the highway. Messages from relatives. Incoming calls. I silenced them all. Instead, I called my executive assistant. Hey, Jack, I said. The news special turned out well. Perfectly, he replied. We're already seeing a spike in brand interest. PR is fielding interview requests from major publications. Just what we were aiming for. Good, I said. First quarter expansion plans are ready for your review Monday morning. The Tokyo facility is ahead of schedule. Partnerships in Mumbai are finalized. Projecting 18% growth. Excellent work. I hung up and drove on through the quiet streets. Christmas lights twinkled in the windows. In warm houses, families were gathering, ordinary people living ordinary lives. They probably weren't thinking about billion-dollar corporations, or family betrayals, or the price of success. My phone vibrated again. This time I looked. A message from Kelly. Please call me. I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. I was awful. Please let me apologize properly. Another from Marcus. I was wrong about everything. Can we talk? From my mother, I love you. Please forgive us. Please. I'm sorry. Even from Uncle Samuel. You were right about that bourbon comment. Sorry. I put the phone away. They were all sorry now. Now that they knew. Now that the numbers were real. Now that they'd seen me on TV with presidents, building hospitals, employing thousands. But would they be sorry if I was still who they thought I was? A failure. An entrepreneur living in a small apartment. The owner of a modest little online shop. I'd known the answer to that for a long time. The city lights faded behind me as I headed towards my quiet apartment, my simple life, my private empire that had never needed their approval and certainly didn't need their belated respect. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and run a $7.2 billion company. I'd make decisions affecting 40,000 employees on 4 continents. I'd review charitable projects, expansion plans, sustainability initiatives. And I'd do it all without the weight of family expectations, without the burden of their judgment, without the desperate need to prove anything to people who had already shown that success mattered more to them than substance. The road stretched ahead, dark, quiet, full of possibilities. And for the first time in 6 years, I felt completely, entirely free.